Hey folks, so it's been a little while since I've done a video as I've been quite busy, but I wanted to throw together a vlog just to kind of catch up on things with you folks, some of you closer followers who tune into all my YouTube videos or follow my work. This video will be a bit different though, as I think a lot of the vlogs I do are more analytical vlogs where I break down a roster move or some tournament results or something like that, but this is more just going to be kind of a personal note. I've kind of added some personal notes to some of my other vlogs, but this one I'm really just going to focus on that. And so that's the gist of this. As really the reason why I wanted to do this is because it's been kind of a crazy last 6 months for me, and in particular it's been a crazy last 5 or 6 weeks. I've done a lot of stuff in just the last 5 or 6 weeks alone, and so just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about that from a personal standpoint, if you folks are interested in that or not. And so really how this all started, of course, was 6 months ago at the very end of April, beginning of May, when I did the Gfinity CEVO Season 9 LAN Finals. And this was a big moment for me because this is really what kickstarted my whole year and what really caused me to have tremendous growth over the last 6 months. It really all started there. And, before that, I doubled or even more than doubled my social media following on like Twitter and things like that. I just gained a lot more exposure and a lot more positive feedback from the community. It's been an amazing ride. And it was great because I was in kind of a dark place for a while, at the end of 2015, because from July 2015 until about this April, when I did this Gfinity CEVO event, I didn't do any other offline events. And that was like an 8 or 9 month long period where I wasn't getting any gigs, and I was really down in the dumps about that. I had some personal things going on. My mother passed away in early 2015, and like that combined with not getting gigs, and I just got in a really bad place mentally, and it really took a lot of heart-to-hearts with some community members out there, particularly guys like Richard and Moses and Launders and Metis and several others, to CEVO employees to really kind of help me get my mind right and get in a better place. And anyway, so the Gfinity CEVO Season 9 Finals at the end of April, beginning of May was an incredible experience for me. It started everything. I did some color commentary there with Jackie and Metis, I think were the two I worked with there. And the big moment was I did this best of 5 finals with Metis, and it was between Tempo Storm, which is now Immortals, or many of the same players from Immortals, and Virtus Pro. It was a semifinal match and went all 5 maps. It was crazy intense. We were casting for like 5 hours straight or something like that late into the night. And myself and Metis really kept up the energy I felt. I was really focusing on the tactics and breaking things down as a color commentator. He was killing it play by play. And I got like such positive feedback from that particular broadcast from not only the community on social media, but also for my fellow coworkers. Like Chris Puckett was there, and he was really praising us, publicly endorsing us on Twitter and such. That's where like Thorne and Richard Lewis really started kind of chiming in about our work. And that's also where I did my first real analyst desk segment. I had done some small desk segments at the end of 2015 at a couple of CEVO events, but this was, like my first real analyst desk, it felt like, where we had like an actual host asking analyst questions. And so it was my first time doing that. And that's a role I had been trying to transition into ever since the middle of 2015, because I was a play-by-play commentator primarily from when I got started in Counter-Strike back in around 2012 to that point in the middle of 2015, and I wanted to transition into a color commentator and analyst role because I just felt it played to my strengths more. I like to study the game. I like to watch the matches and study how teams play and follow results and player performances and trends and all that good stuff. And I just had a mind for that, and I really wanted to be kind of a student of the game and express that. And also because play-by-play commentary, I felt like I hit a wall. I hit a ceiling that I wasn't going to break through. I still have that skill if it's ever needed, but there were certainly tons and tons of really good play-by-play commentators at the time, and there wasn't a whole lot of analysts and color commentators at the time. Guys like Yanko weren't around yet, back in like the very early 2015, or hadn't done a whole lot yet. Moses was just getting started, I believe, at this time, really. And so I felt like this is like a gap I could sort of fill, or at least be part of filling that gap, as others were certainly coming in to fill those roles as well. And so, yeah, that was a really big event at Gfinity CEVO, because after I did those analyst test segments, I really caught the eye of guys like Richard and Thorne. They came out and spoke, high praises about me, as well as Launders. And this is what really led to me doing the first week of E-League, which was right towards the end of May, which was probably the biggest gig I've ever done. Was working on kicking off this whole new project, this E-League that was going to be televised and was going to be, crazy amount of production quality added and all these great things. And I got to work with Richard again, because I was on the desk with Richard and Thorne at the Gfinity SIVO finals, which was like one of the greatest moments for me. I still really cherish that. And then doing E-League with Richard and Moses on the desk, for all those segments, was again just learning more, gaining more experience, doing basically some of my first analyst desk work on one of the biggest stages outside of a major or like a really big LAN tournament. And so it was just really cool stuff, and it was great working with all those guys. While I was there at E-League, Anderson Simler were there as well, and really talked and learned from them and all the Turner people, particularly like Alchemist, who was the main producer, some of the observers like Prius and Sapphire. And it was just an amazing experience. I learned so much just in that 1 week from all these guys, like the Room on Fire guys that were there, and Richard and Thorne. Thorne wasn't there yet, but from Gfinity, I learned from him quite a lot. And, it was just a big moment for me. And then there was this big break going on, because I think in August in general there was a break of nothing really going on that the players kind of took. But also I just wasn't getting involved in stuff, and so I was a little bit worried that I was dipping back into obscurity. But pretty quickly I started getting involved on some online cups, like the iBuy Power tournaments and the CyberPower PC tournaments, and I even helped Metis a little bit with the B stream for the ESL Pro League EU division. And so I was still staying active, and I was putting out content. And then Northern Arena Toronto happened, and that was another really cool event where I got to work with Launders and Vancillion, some newer folks as well. And I know that there was, some things about that event that certainly struck people the wrong way. Big delay on the first day that was really out of, the Northern Arena guys' hands for the most part, and the whole drama with Immortals and Henny and against Cloud9 in the grand final, and those two things really kind of hurt the event, I suppose, because events, especially new events, seem to be remembered for the first impression they make and how they finish the event. And those two things obviously kind of were wrecked. But I think overall it was still a pretty good event. We had great teams, we had great competition, the matches were good. I think after the initial delay on the first day, they really picked things up for day 2 and day 3, and they were really getting on a roll. But it's just unfortunate that that incident happened in the grand finals. But it was still a great event. I still love working with those Northern Arena guys. They're great people. I think they're going to make a ton of changes before the Montreal event to make things better. You've already noticed they've cut the teams in half. Instead of 16 teams, there's only going to be 8. I think they're going to be announcing soon that they're going to be working with some different partners to help run the event to make things smoother. And so I think that the Montreal event will be much better. And there's going to be some great teams at that Montreal event. They've already been announced, I think, for the most part. You got guys like Envious and G2 coming in. I believe Heroic's going to be there. I think Liquid and Optic are going to be there. CLG, you're going to have a team qualify. So it's going to be a great tournament. I hope to be involved with it. I'm not sure if I will be yet, as that's going to be in the middle of November, but we'll see. So cool stuff there. And then that's where this crazy chain of what I've been doing over the last 5 to 6 weeks really started, right? Because as I was coming home from Toronto, I was still in an airport, and I got a message from Michael Brown from Gfinity like, hey, do you want to come and work with us at the Gfinity Invitational? And obviously I love Gfinity. It was so great working with them, back when I did the SIVO Gfinity finals that I've already talked about a lot in this video. And it's where everything kind of started, and so it was great to go back with them. And the Gfinity Invitational was an amazing event. It was 4 teams. They were all best of 5s. This was the first event I really got to go to. There was no North American teams involved, which was great for me because I felt like I had kind of gotten pigeonholed as this North American expert, and maybe people felt that I didn't have the knowledge to cover EU teams as well. And, I got to kind of prove that I could at this event, I guess you could say, since it was nothing but European teams at here. And this is where I really got to work with Thorin across an entire event, like a longer stint, because I had just done a couple of guest segments at the previous Gfinity SIVO finals, just maybe 2 segments. And so this was going to be me working across an entire event with him, best of 5, so many desk segments that we had each day. And this was also really cool because this is the event where we got a ton of time on the desk. Some other events, you don't get as much time on the desk. And so I feel like people get maybe a more shallow analysis from me. And so you don't really get to show the insight that you can bring to the table and really go into things more deeply and really give the audience that bit of insight that they're looking for. That kind of scratches the surface and breaks through it and then gets into the nitty-gritty of the teams and players and all that good stuff. And so it was really cool because I'm a guy who really likes to focus on tactics and strategy. I watch a ton of demos. I like to study how a team approaches a map, their style, their different tactics, the specific tactics that they use to implement that style, and how that style changes over time as they make roster moves or as they adapt their map pool and move in a different direction. And so that's what I really like to focus on. So I got to do that at this event because, you had Thorn focusing on the map pick ban phase, focusing on like the narrative he likes to build and historical context and things like that. And I got to come in and be like, oh, these two teams are going to play on this map. This is how they approach the map. This is how their styles may clash. And I got to set up matchups and things like that. And it was really cool. And so I would tell you folks out there, if you feel like you're getting kind of shallow analysis and you think that, oh, these guys don't know anything more than I know, it's because sometimes you just don't have the time to get into that stuff. And you need to set up the match. You need to talk about how these teams have been performing lately, how these players have been performing lately, what their map pool is like, how they can stack up this map. And then you pass it to the casters. Usually that's only lasts maybe about 5 to 10 minutes max. So this is a cool event where I felt like we got a lot of time. And I learned a lot from Thorn because we talked a lot even off camera, and he was kind of giving me, suggestions and pointers on how I can make my analysis better by kind of slowing down, talking slower, really nailing my points a little bit better. And so it was really cool to get that insight from him, building off of when we had worked together at the other Gfinity event prior, as well as just other things I've picked up on. There's been a lot of people who have helped me. I think I named some of them earlier, like Richard Launders, Moses Metis in particular. And so, yeah, just always a learning experience when you go to an event. And this was one where I really felt like I got a lot of freedom to kind of express myself. So that was really cool. And then after the Gfinity Invitational, again, I'm in an airport on the way back home, and I get a message from Twitch, hey, can you come out to TwitchCon? And it was to commentate a show match between a bunch of streamers, or a couple of show matches between a bunch of streamers on the Friday night, the first night of TwitchCon. And then I got the rest of the weekend off to just kind of do what I wanted. And so, yeah, TwitchCon was just super fun. It wasn't like a serious tournament like some of this other stuff. It was just more of like kind of have some fun, hang out with some people from the Twitch community, employees, streamers, just different people involved in esports and gaming and stuff like that. And so I got to catch up with people like familiar faces as well as meet some new people. Like some highlights from TwitchCon was getting to meet Lethal Frag, who many of you may not know if you don't get into Twitch streams outside of esports and outside of Counter-Strike, but he's a variety game streamer, indie games mostly. He's the guy that you may have heard of that did the 2-year streaming challenge where he streamed every day for 2 years on Twitch, and he turned it into a full-time career off the back of that. And he's just an incredibly nice guy, really down-to-earth dude. I really enjoy his stream. He got inducted to Twitch Hall of Fame, the first TwitchCon that they did last year. And just, kind of an inspiration to me, so to speak. And so it was really cool meeting him. I met Jimmy Wisenhunt for the first time, someone who I had known for quite some time online because of Counter-Strike, because he was very involved in Counter-Strike, of course. And now he works at Twitch. And it was cool meeting him for the first time in person. And there's so many other cool people I met hanging out with Launders, who I was casting with at TwitchCon, and so many cool new people that I met at TwitchCon. It's too many to name. And it was just a really fun experience. Like I said, like kind of just a little fun thing, not a serious tournament, right? And so that was really cool. And then I got home from TwitchCon, and then the day I got back, I went to bed, I woke up the next morning, and then James Bardoff asked me, hey man, do you want to come help us kick off season 2 of ECS? They already had Vendetta there doing analysis, and so they wanted to see if I wanted to come in as well. And so I filled in for that, to do that, and that was, again, an incredible experience. I had worked with James a little bit online for some stuff way back at the beginning of the year when he was doing like some Starlighter qualifiers or something, but I had never worked with DDK before, for sure. I had met him very briefly in Vegas at CES when they were doing the road to Vegas for E-League, and I was there doing something else, and we kind of caught up. But this is my first time like really spending some time with James and DDK, who are, of course, one of the big duos in casting. And then this is also the first time I've ever really spoken to or worked with Vendetta, who is just a brilliant analyst. This guy knows so much about the game. He has an insane memory of like past results and all this other stuff. He really is a student of the game in his own right, really spends a lot of time on it. And yeah, just a brilliant analyst to work with. It wasn't even just the analyst segments we did together for ECS as much as us talking about Counter-Strike in the green room between games, or when we were having lunch or whatever some days, because we were staying at the same hotel, so we kind of had lunch and dinner together at times. And yeah, the dude is just awesome. It was really cool meeting and working with him. Really insane dude. And so yeah, ECS was just kind of this gig that came out of nowhere, and really gave me a chance to get some more exposure and get myself out there and do more work doing what I love doing. And really, really, again, just learning experience, learning a lot from James DDK and Vendetta, and just getting to follow my passion, I guess you could say, even more. And throughout all of this work, my mindset really has changed. Like I said, there were some dark times where I felt like I was not in the right place mentally, and I was really mopey and sappy. And the thing that really gave me the reality check was Thorin did this video about, I can't remember exactly. I think it was about just getting into journalism, I think is what it was. And in the video, there was this bit he talked about no one likes someone who has a loser's mentality, who's always, negative Nancy basically, and who like really kind of is mopey and down themselves, like why won't anyone ever hire me, and has this like loser's mentality basically. And I was like, that's me. Like I don't think he was speaking directly to me, obviously. He was speaking to just in general to the population. There's many people who do this possibly, and I was like, I'm that guy. I'm the guy that's been at some of these events this year, and I've been all mopey and sappy when I talk to people, and like, who wants to hang out and talk with someone who has this loser's mentality? I mean, it really struck home to me. And after having some conversations with guys like Moses and Launders, particularly, but also Metis and Richard back in the past, I just realized that, I'm that guy and I need to fix this. You know what I mean? Like, what good does it do me to be negative, right? It's not going to help me get anywhere. So just trying to be positive and focus on the right things helps your mind get where it needs to be. That and just keeping up with my work ethic. I mean, that's the one thing I know I can do is I can work hard. I can sit there for hours and watch tons of demos and learn how teams play, how they like to approach maps. I can go through the stats. I can go through the results. I can follow all the big tournaments. I can consume all the content out there, other vlogs or interviews or articles or what have you, and just make sure that I'm consuming all the information I can possibly stand. I mean, obviously I can't cover everything. I can't study everything. I can't study every single round of Counter-Strike played. There's so much of it, right? But I can cover the vast majority of it and then focus on things that I particularly enjoy, like focusing on tactics and strategy, for example, and how like the metagame changes on different maps, or how teams innovate new tactics, like the NIP 3 smoke on Kabul, or the new smoke on Mirage that people throw from middle to the stairs, like the other side of connector, which blocks vision completely for CTs playing an A site to watch catwalk, because obviously when you throw it just in the middle of the connector, people can peek over that smoke, and so people have been throwing this new smoke, and that's really changed how mid control works on Mirage. So just different things like that I like to kind of pick up on and try to express. And so yeah, it's just about getting my mind right, and which I think I've done lately. I think I'm in a place where I'm finally just being positive. Obviously not like overly positive to where it's annoying or not realistic, but obviously not being a pessimist or someone who's down the dumps all the time. Not having that loser's mentality, I think is the best way to put it. And so that's kind of where I am now, is I think I'm moving forward in the right direction as far as where my mind is, and I'm making myself available for work, and I'm every time an opportunity comes my way, I'm tackling it. I'm on top of it. And yeah, I'm just keeping up with my knowledge on the game as much as I possibly can, and keeping, making sure that I can be the best analyst or color commentator that I possibly can be. And that's what I'm going to continue to do. So as far as the future goes, I'm not really sure. You may still see me doing some stuff for ECS Season 2 at some point. I don't really know. We'll see. I know there's a bunch of events taking place on North American soil in November. Maybe I can get involved with some of that. We'll have to see. As of right now, not yet, but hopefully it can work out. And the Americas minor hasn't even been announced yet, but I assume it'll be coming at some point this year, so maybe that's something else I can try to get involved with for this year. And then who knows what the next year holds, right? Who knows? There's so much stuff that could be happening. And so hopefully I can get involved with that as well. Also, I'll still continue to do content on YouTube, still continue to do the analytical vlogs I'm more known for. There might be some other content I can get involved with in the future as well for some different people. So I'm trying to keep my options open for that as well. Not only doing, events as a commentator and analyst, but also trying to find other ways to create content and stay active in the community. So that's basically it. It's been an amazing last 6 months. It's been an intense last 5 or 6 weeks. I'm very thankful for kind of all these opportunities to come my way, even though some of them were kind of last minute and caught me off guard. I was able to roll with the punches and like I said, just tackle the opportunities as they come. And that's one thing I have to tell people, because I get this a lot. People always ask me, how can I get into this? How can I get into casting? And one quick note here at the end, I think Blue covered this pretty well in a blog he recently wrote, is some of it is just luck. You can work really hard, you can, be really talented, but sometimes it is just luck. Sometimes it's being in the right place at the right time, or who you've networked with. And so you just have to be ready to take those opportunities when they do come your way. For me, E-League was being in the right place at the right time, just coming off of an event where, things went really well for me at the Gfinity CEVO Season 9 finals, and them needing someone to fill in while Thorn was sorting his visa out, which that's public information. I think Thorn's already said that in a vlog, so I don't think I'm, throwing any new info out there. But yeah, it was just kind of right place, right time for that particular gig, and that's kind of what kickstarted a lot of things for me going forward. So yes, you do have to earn it, you do have to work hard, you do have to do a good job, but sometimes the way you build momentum and the way that you hit a hot streak, so to speak, is again just being at the right place at the right time. And so I'm going to hope to continue to be at the right place at the right time, continue working hard, and continue to stay positive, and just not let myself get into some down in the dump scenario again. I mean, obviously depression is real, and people let that affect them at different times, or not let them affect it. It affects people. It's a medical thing. It's not just something you make up in your head. And so, yeah, there always is going to be those moments where you feel a bit down or a bit depressed, but it's just about making sure that even if I am in a state like that, I don't express it to people and cause them to get this negative vibe from me, I guess you could say. So yeah, just gonna keep going forward, keep being positive, keep getting involved with whatever I can, and yeah, that's the personal update. I think I may also do an AMA sometime after I release this video, so pay attention to the dates. I'm publishing this, I think, either October 11th or 12th of 2016, and so hopefully I'll do an AMA some point shortly after this is published, if you want to ask more questions and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Let's catch you next time.